Mr. Jackson would have on that.
All right, so I gave a packet to Maddie. She's going to pass it around. Now that we've completed Othello, we've finished the book, the play, we are going to take, it's time for you guys to show us, to all of us, what you have learned. You will pick from the following options and pass in a project. Okay, so there's 3 options, and you're going to show us what you've learned. And before we read these options, I'm going to point to the 3 themes that we've been talking about for the past couple months. All right, so can we just go over this one more time? So we're talking about the interracial marriage, right, between Othello and Desdemona. Jealousy, there's a lot of different jealousy that we've seen in the book, and then appearance versus reality. We've talked about that a lot. Can anybody think of any examples of one of these themes? Go ahead.
May I go to the bathroom?
Yes, if you give me an example of one of these themes from the book.
From the book?
Yeah.
Appearance versus reality, jealousy, interracial marriage. Like an example of interracial marriage in Othello?
Yes, and how it affected the plot.
How affected Paul? Duh. Othello, Desdemona.
Okay, that's great, but try without the attitude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thank you for
Sorry.
apologizing. So can you repeat what you're saying?
Othello and Desdemona. The reason why I had such an attitude is because it's such an important part.
Okay, great, and thank you for clarifying and correcting
I was just
yourself.
emphasizing the importance.
That's great, thank you. Okay, so thank you for the example. Yes, now you can go to the rest.
Thank you.
Can I have a volunteer to read option number 1 for our project? Armani.
Pick one of the following 2 claims and support with evidence in a 5-page. 5 pages?
5 pages, yep.
Yeah, what's up with that?
This
How about
is,
4?
so this is option 1 of 3 options, before we get excited.
But I read option 2 already, and it also says 5 pages.
All right, so option 3, I'm going to call the Andre option, because I know we're jumping ahead, but we talked one time, and you mentioned that Shakespeare was like the rap of his time, right? So let's jump to option 3 and read that option before we go to the first 2 options. Andre, do you want to read that option, please?
Sure. The final option is to develop an original work depicting a modern issue that you think needs to be corrected. You can create a song, play, poem.
What, say again?
You can create a song, play, poem, or anything of your choosing. You can pick any issue that interests you. Your creative work should be accompanied with a 2-page commentary comparing your work of art to Othello. Why do we have to do all these pages? Why can't I just make a song? My cousin Jeffrey makes these really sweet tracks, and I could just do that real quick, like tonight for homework and be done with it. So how come we have to do a 2-page commentary? Why can't I
So you're gonna
make a song?
You're gonna have 3 weeks for this, and I want you to compare it to Othello. So I'm really excited for your sweet, what did you say, sweet tracks? I'm really excited for that. But with your sweet tracks,
You should hear my cousin Jeffrey's stuff.
I think that's great. So maybe
That's
you
the
can
thing, my
work
cousin
with
Jeffrey.
your cousin Jeffrey on it.
No, my cousin Jeffrey.
I don't understand.
That's his name.
Okay. All right. So your friend, my cousin
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
exactly.
Okay. So you can work with him on this.
Okay.
But then you have to write a 2-page commentary comparing it to Othello. Okay? So
Can you help us with that?
we can definitely, we're gonna be using graphic organizers in here just like we always do, Andre. You know that.
Okay.
So we're gonna move on right now. So that's option 3, which I think a lot of you might be interested in, because as we've been reading this book, you guys have been comparing the Shakespeare's writing to songs or contemporary plays and that sort of thing. So you guys can use slang. This is an opportunity for you guys to do that, and I think that it'll be a great opportunity. That said, there's 2 other options. So, Amani, you read option 1. So let me just say a couple things on that real quick. So it says, pick one of the following 2 claims and support with evidence in a 5-page paper. Okay, so Othello is evidence that Shakespeare is a racist. Shakespeare wrote Othello to point out racism of his time. So again, we've been talking about this a lot in class. You have a lot of notes on this, and we've been talking about this a lot. So I want you guys to make a decision on one of those two things, okay? And then back it up using Othello. You can also bring an outside text. I will read the next one. Write a 5-page research paper analyzing the use of Othello in modern culture. How and where does Othello show up in our world today? You can interpret this question in any way that you wish, but you need a claim that is supported by sound evidence. Okay, so this is a research paper. You guys have done research papers in history. This is a research paper in English. And if you have any other questions, we can talk about it later. As of now, we are going to go to Ms. Kelly.
Grading and rubrics.
Go ahead.
So as we move into our final project for Othello, we want to keep in mind that this is going to be a major part of your grade for this class. So please raise your hand if you have heard of a rubric. Raise your hand if you've heard of a rubric.
That's a cube.
Like a Rubik's Cube?
Not like a Rubik's Cube. That's something different. That's a toy. A rubric.
Don't tell my cousin Jeffrey.
What I'd like you to do now is turn to the next page, and there you will see a rubric. This is what a rubric looks like. You may have seen these before, but you may not know exactly how to use a rubric to help your assignment, to help you complete the given task at hand. So we've already gone through 3 options for your final project, and the first option is the persuasive essay, and that is on racism in Othello. Can I have Sebastian please read me the category 4, going above the standards for a position statement in that persuasive paper?
The position statement provides a clear, strong statement of the author's position on the topic.
Great. So that means to get the most points on the position statement in your paper, you want to have a clear, strong statement on your position on the topic. You have to make a really well-defined claim so that if someone else is reading it that has never read Othello before, they'll know what you're talking about. What does a number 1 look like for evidence and examples in this persuasive essay? Matty Ice.
Evidence and examples are not relevant and/or are not explained.
How about a 4 for that category?
All of the evidence and examples are specific, relevant, and explanations are given that show how each piece of evidence supports the author's position.
Okay, and why is using evidence and examples important, especially in a persuasive essay? You, sir? Can you answer why it's important to use evidence and examples, especially in a persuasive essay?
Well, think of the opposite. If you don't use evidence, people are just gonna be like, well, it's just your opinion, who cares?
That's how we already feel about you, though.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
Exactly.
moving on. So if you choose option 1, you should be using this rubric to guide your pre-work. You want to make sure to hit all of these standards in the first category. So, option number 2. Can someone remind me what option number 2 was? What was option number 2?
Other paper. Research paper.
Yeah, the other 5-page paper, the research paper. What are the categories that you'll be graded on the research paper rubric? Go ahead, Sebastian.
Attention grabber, position statement, support for position, evidence and examples.
Okay, and there's one more on the next page.
Sources.
Sources, great. So there are several categories that I'm going to be looking for as I grade this essay, and these are the most important things that you need to include in your research paper. And we are going to move on to the last one, option 3, the Andre option, which is a creative work, a song, a play, a poem, something that you created that isn't the regular, typical, some say boring 5-page paper. So Andre, I'm gonna have you read those categories. If you choose that option, what are some of the things that I'm going to be looking for?
The oral presentation, is that like how my mouth moves?
Yeah, that's if you are reciting the song or the poem, that's you standing up here and presenting it to the class.
Okay. So it should be interesting, well rehearsed with smooth delivery. That holds audience attention.
Awesome. How about originality? Are you original?
You have to be original. You should be an originator, not an imitator. Duh.
Okay.
Product shows a large amount of original thought. Ideas are creative and inventive.
Awesome. How about content?
Covers topic in depth with details and examples. Subject knowledge of modern issue is excellent.
Okay, and organization?
Content is well organized using headings or bulleted lists. Wait, why are we gonna have bullets?
A bulleted list.
Maybe.
That is a device used to organize thoughts.
Okay. To group related material.
And finally, the dreaded commentary.
2-page commentary compares the chosen work of art to, how do you say that guy's name?
Othello.
His name. Connections are strong, well defined, and supported with several exemplars.
Wonderful.
Examples.
Okay, examples. So what are some of the common themes, no matter what option you choose? What are some things that keep jumping out at us?
Racism.
In the rubric, actually. In the
Definitely some
rubric.
of that too.
I have a question.
Sebastian, sure.
So, oral presentation, does that mean that if I write a song, it can't just be like a classical song or like a beat? It has to have
I guess oral presentation would depend on
Use a classical
the
song.
method.
Sign us up for Smooth with a Loser. Oh, 14.
That category would depend on the creative work that you choose. So we can talk about that offline. So anyone else, what is something that's similar throughout all of these options? What do we need to focus on?
There you
What's
are,
important?
doing a good job.
Evidence.
Evidence? What else?
details.
Evidence, details,
How are you gonna
organization, and content. So those are the things that we will be focusing on as we prepare to finish up Othello and create our final projects. Good luck.